This program is part of WQED's Pittsburgh History Series.
Okay, players, at the sound of the bell, you may begin.
It was the beautiful summer of 1988. It was a perfect summer to make a video documentary about an amusement park called Kennywood.
Here we go, here we go.
I remember I had mentioned the idea of such a program when I came to WQED for my job interview in 1987. Then, a year later, with a trusty crew of WQED regulars, I got to give it a go.
3, 2, 1.
We went to Kennywood Park a lot that summer of '88, maybe 24 or 25 days. We weren't counting. We put together an hour-long program called KENNYWOOD Memories that people seem to like a lot. There are parts of it that have become iconic.
The wet, greasy wood can be like ice.
You all right, Geno? Yeah. Sure you're all right?
But we also shot a lot more material than we could squeeze into that first hour.
Oh my, is that hot too?
And in the summer of 2018, we started thinking it might be interesting to look at those 30-year-old tapes that we had in storage. That's where all of these pictures come from. All the moving images in this program were shot in 1988. I like to think of it as that Kennywood summer. Some of the characters may be familiar.
It's never the same twice, you know. As long as we've been here, every day is still somehow just a little bit different, you know, and a little bit funnier than the day before.
Some will be new.
I was too short when I was younger and I couldn't ride the Thunderbolt, and it ruined my whole day. And my parents said, come on, we're going home. I said, if we're going home, I'm going to cry right here. And I cried. They didn't care.
We've tried to include new angles, new memories, and new footage that wasn't used before.
This program in the NEBBY series is made possible in part by the Buell Foundation, serving southwestern Pennsylvania since 1927. By Louis Anthony Jewelers, proud supporter of Pittsburgh and its treasures. By Huntington Bank, serving communities since 1866. By Levin Furniture, furnishing Pittsburgh homes since 1920. Also by the Engineers Society of Western Pennsylvania. By Henny Henninger. By the Lincoln Pharmacy in Millvale. By Mancini's Bread. By Pamela's P&G Diners. And by all 1,411 backers of our NEBBY Kickstarter. Thanks to everybody.
Yeah, all right.
A little bit breezy.
Yeah, but look at the view.
This is gorgeous.
If you've never been to Kennywood, if you grew up somewhere else, it may be surprising to find out how people around Pittsburgh love this amusement park. It is a beloved place.
You get me started on Kennywood, I yickety yak, you know.
We've always come for the roller coasters, but now we're bringing our children, and they like the roller coasters, so I guess it's kind of the same for both of us.
There's families all around here. People starting families, people who are in love, and they go out and they walk and they get thrills and eat fattening food and just enjoy themselves out here. It's beautiful out here. This is a family establishment.
We think that it is as much a part of growing up in Pittsburgh as the rivers, because everybody alive remembers Kennywood being here all the time.
Kennywood's more, to me, than a business, because it's not so much that there's a business here and you have management in the office and you have the machinery and there's people. There's just a little something out here. I don't know a word to define it.
It still is exciting to me, even as an older person.
The people have changed because after 30 years, everybody looks different. You walk up and you say, I know that person, but I can't place the face. But it's to the park, it's just the same. It gives you a good hometown feeling. It's really neat.
Kennywood is the kind of place where kids might like to show their loyalty by singing the park's latest TV commercial.
Now?
Last night I took a walk before dark at a place called Kennywood Park.
Passed by to see what I could see. Up on the pirate ship, down on the raging rapids, fast on the Thunderbolt, and around on the merry-go-round. Fall in love
at Kennywood Park.
Of course, there is prime people watching at Kennywood always. But you have to remember, everybody in these shots was much younger than they are now. Little kids in this footage are all in their 30s. Even the smallest may have kids of their own by now, along with mortgages.
Call her again. Enter your ticket.
We don't want to cause any trouble. You may recognize yourself or a loved one with an old boyfriend or girlfriend. Remember, this was 1988.
All right, I'll radio for Carl to meet you down at the log jammer.
Okay, that'd be super. Thanks.
Many folks we videotaped may no longer be with us. We hope that seeing them may bring only good memories. Of course, many of these people dress a bit differently. Kennywood has long been a place where you could show off a favorite shirt or a new outfit. Back in '88, men's shorts were often very short, and we human beings had different sorts of hairstyles. And while you might occasionally see someone with a camera, it's amazing that no one in any of this material has a cell phone. No one is taking selfies or trying to document the excitement of being on the rides. No one except us.
It doesn't matter how old you are. Once you get to Kennywood, you're 6 years old again. You want to go on every ride and you want to do it often.
We took our big old camera on lots of rides, sometimes several times. We also like seeing what goes on behind the scenes, mostly in the early morning hours, when the park is still quiet and oddly serene. And back then, Fred Weber was in charge of the maintenance crews.
We check this ride daily. We had a small indication out here, like a small crack, so we figure instead of letting it get bigger, we take care of it and we weld it up right away. I have 12 fellows, 12 mechanics, and there's 3 carpenters right now. And our main objective is strictly ride maintenance in the summer and repair. My duty is to keep the park running and keep it safe. And that's my main criteria. You know, we check our rides and try to keep them as safe as possible.
We first met our favorite maintenance men, Brian Bartley and Geno Chambordon, one day when Brian was at the very top of the Laser Loop's front hill, checking on the winch and safety apparatus. And meanwhile, down on the ground, Geno was watching till things got serious. And then he too had to climb up to help make sure that all was greased and working as planned. We saw them again a week or two later on that beautiful Thunderbolt morning after a rain. They were busy.
We go around, we check the structure, we check the track, make sure there was nothing loose, no broken track or cracked track, any loose angles, and we check the trains out real good.
Last year was my first year working a coaster, but I pretty much knew what was going on. It was just a matter of doing it. It wasn't too bad.
We saw Geno slip, but then we hiked to the top of the track ourselves to ask Brian, was he ever frightened?
Well, the scariest thing that happened to me is when we walking in the rain. There's one time I was going down, coming up the last hill into the station. I was going down that way. I slipped and I bounced about like 10 feet down the steps. And it sort of got my blood rushing there.
Just about every day can be scary if you don't know what you're doing. Like today after the rain.
Still, the coaster has to get checked every day.
We usually ride it every morning. We usually take turns. That's another way we can listen for anything that's wrong, just in case by chance we miss something. I like this ride more than I like the loop.
You know, if you get to the park early enough, there may be no line at the potato patch.
I don't think any place smells better in the morning than right in here when we first put the fries in. I mean, it's a great smell, it really is.
Bob Sepsic was the manager of the famous French fries that summer.
We use Idaho potatoes for the most part, and those are the best potatoes, really. I mean, grown right here and everything in the United States. I mean, excellent potatoes. We buy potatoes that are actually baking potatoes, so we're sure to get the largest potatoes possible. We don't want, just regular potatoes someone's going to make mashed potatoes out of. That makes the fries long, and people enjoy those a lot more than, when you get fries at McDonald's, they're really small or whatever. They like them to be really long and thick here, so, I mean, that's part of the product. That's part of the attraction.
Oh, we were also attracted to the old Lucky concession stand not far away, where they make deep-fried cheese on a stick and corn dogs. Amy Winters taught us how to make them, but we disrupted the normal routine. And so, for a few minutes, our lighting guy, Nick Tallow, stepped in to help serve customers.
Thanks for change. Thanks. Have a nice day. Most of them like ketchup and mustard on it. Now we have cheese, and they think that's a really good idea too. So they usually either ketchup, mustard, or cheese, whatever one. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
They never had these great potatoes they had now, but we used to try to eat hot dogs and pizza, you know, up there where the miniature golf used to be. We used to stand there and people would bet how many hot dogs you could eat, and if I ate more than 6, they would pay for them. So I would always try to eat 6 or 7 to get the, so I wouldn't have to pay.
In 1988, the miniature golf course was right beside one of the most amazing old mechanical rides in the park, the Turtle. We rode it with the first great Kennywood historian, Charles J. Jacques Jr., and he taught us a lot.
The name used to be generically, it was called a tumble bug, and it was manufactured in nearby Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, and they put these all around the U.S., and this is just one of the very few of them that's still remaining anywhere in America. This is a great old heavy-duty ride, throws you around. The noise is never to be forgotten with those motors and those chains. When you see the chains and the chains start that noise, you know you're off. Are you going to make it up and over? It's also interesting at the very end. Is it going to stop, or are you going to get one more extra ride going around?
On this ride from 1927, the operator in 1988 still had to be familiar with vintage controls.
The old rides were a lot of gears and mechanisms and kick a little something down below, and you had to gauge distances. Was it ready to stop or wasn't it? Are you going to pull the brake on? Just put the brake on at a certain level. Those were the advantages of the old ride, but you had to have somebody who knew what he was doing, and that was the good ride operator.
A good operator or a good ride manager can make a big difference. On our very first day of shooting in the park, we spent most of the day at the Raging Rapids.
That's like being at Kennywood.
Welcome to the Raging Rapids. For your own safety, please obey these simple rules. Don't stand up, and always hold the center grab rail with both of your hands.
Oh, you got it.
That day we interviewed Joey Brand, who was the manager of the Raging Rapids that year.
What a manager does is make sure the operations of the ride is run as smoothly as possible without any problems or complications. And if there is a problem, to take it as smoothly as you can and make sure that everything runs properly.
On a giant water ride like this, what could go wrong?
You have people that get sick on the ride. You have people that try to cut in line. You have people that want 2 in a boat. You can't have that. What else do you have? You have people that don't want to get wet and come off and swear at you.
Is this over?
Nope. It can be monotonous at times, and you really got to make your own fun and almost entertain the people around you to have fun and really motivate them.
Help me!
I try to get more teenagers to scream because if they come off the ride upset, and it adds life to the ride.
It was wet. It was wild. It was wonderful.
That summer, we also spent some time at the Log Jammer, which was already 13 years old at that point. The manager was Craig Bogovich from Munhall, who was studying business at Pitt during the rest of the year. He knew the stats on this Get Wet ride.
It's one of the busier rides in the park. We worked it out on a busy day when we have 4 or 5 in a boat, about 24,000 rided a day. The reservoir over here is, we have a 500,000 gallon reservoir. We can pump 23,000 gallons through this trough every minute. At the bottom of lift 1 over here, at the beginning of the ride, there's the 2 pumps, all right? It pumps the water to the top of the hill right above here. And ride has a continuous slope to it, slopes down. The trough holds a total 90,000 gallons. It's 1,500 plus feet long. The ride takes approximately 3 minutes, 10 seconds.
Is there any sort of friendly competition between this place and the Raging Rapids?
Not really, no. We have a little bit of a competition between us and the whip in the evening when it gets slow. Usually about 10 o'clock at night when there's not too many people riding a ride. We'll try to get everyone that comes off our ride to get on their whip because not too many people ride it at night. It's just the noise of people that work over there. It's just fun. They send them back over to us. And it's something to do at night.
KENNYWOOD Memories! Yeah! Yeah, go!
It was at the Log Jammer where we met the altar boys from St. Athanasius Church in Westview. We wandered around with them for a while.
Let's go over to the Raging Rapids.
They had to consider all the options for their next ride.
Bumper cars are in. No way, man. Bumper cars, we get destroyed. Harry's hair's like...
They ended up at the Grand Prix bumper cars, but at Kennywood, just walking between rides can be amazingly amusing. It's always fun to watch people on the rides, too. In 1988, one of the new rides was the flying carpet.
Am I afraid of this ride? Yes, I'm very much afraid of this ride.
Welcome to the flying carpet. Please lower your lap bars and secure all loose articles such as hats and glasses.
We could take a rest after this. No.
Due to the motion of the ride, you must hold on to the bar directly in front of you.
This is the scary part.
Whoa! That's why I thought this is scary too.
And we're up here looking for my grandmother to get me off this thing. Yay! Don't put the camera on her, put the camera on me.
Please move your hands away from the bars and exit the ride out the front. Have a great day here at Kennywood.
Your stomach just, woo! It's bad. I don't like it. It hurts your stomach.
All I want to know is what happened to Noah's Ark.
Yeah, I thought it would be like the pirate ship. It's about twice as, I don't know what, scary.
I thought it was right here. Oh, there it is. That's the one we wanted to go on.
This is rough.
I like Noah's Ark. I didn't know what this one was like.
If you couldn't keep the ride straight, it might have helped to run into Henny Henninger, who was vice president and general manager of the park back then. He knew all the rides, even the old mill, the Tunnel of Love that has changed names several times.
Well, I probably shouldn't tell you this story, but the first time I ever worked in Kennywood was in the old mill, which is now the Hard-Headed Harold's Horrendously Humorous Haunted Hideaway. And my instructions were, at the age of 14, to stand behind this little post and shine the flashlight on people as they came through to make sure that they weren't smoking or they weren't standing up or they weren't doing any things that could be injurious to themselves. As a 14-year-old, that was quite an education. I found out a lot of things. After about 3 hours, they called me to come out for lunch. I told them I'd wait for dinner.
When you're an executive in the park, you inevitably know a lot about the people who work there in the summer.
90% are students. Of that, about 50-50. 50% in high school, 50% in college.
Well, you work usually about 12, 14 hours a day, so this is your life in the summer. It's Kennywood.
I consider it an educational experience because you learn to deal with all kinds of people and all kinds of situations on a daily basis.
It's basically a summer job only because it starts in the end of July and ends in September, Labor Day. yeah, it's just basically a summer job.
The hours are real long. It gets hot, but it's a nice job to have in the summer. You get to meet a lot of people.
Sometimes people will say things, you know, that are nice that kind of make your day, especially when you're real busy and there's people running around. But I like to be busy. That's one of the reasons I'm here.
We met a lot of people who worked there that summer, but Beth Snodgrass at the Wave Swinger was one of our favorites.
Little kids will be up there crying, and you watch them all the time. And if they start to cry, and their parents will stand down there and go, you know, so you turn the ride off, and the ride comes down like normal, and if it's only been up there for like 30 seconds, then you say, please remain seating, and you remove the little kid that's crying. Or if it just comes down, you say, thanks for riding, and people get off and they think, oh, that's kind of short. But, you know, they don't wonder. We just sit here and smile, and they think, oh. One time I remember that it was going around, this little kid was crying and screaming, and, ah. So I made them stop the ride, and I ran over to him. I said, are you okay? And he said, yeah. And everyone was staring. I felt really stupid, you know. And the ride went back up, and he was on it. He didn't want to get off. I said, do you want to get off? He said, no, I'm fine. And I said, oh, geez. The ride went back up.
She taught us about people and weather.
Okay, when it rains, if it's sprinkling, we just keep running the ride. And we try to watch people. If they look like they're really getting wet, then we'll turn it off and bring it down. But if it starts to pour like it did today, then we get these puddles right there on the platform, which have to be swept off. And we tell people to be careful on the platform because it gets very slippy. And we close if it pours. We just close the ride, and we get to go out there and sit and talk.
On a rainy day, you could also slip into the Penny Arcade, where you've been able to find games and weird machines and unexpected joys, at least as far back as 1902, when the first Penny Arcade building opened. In 1988, we got to go down to the basement of the arcade with Rob Mihalchik from Portview. He gave us a tour and showed us some of those ancient paper reels that became motion pictures inside a mutoscope movie machine.
And here's a cowboy western, fighting. Let's see what else we got here. More wrestling. And it's hard to say. This is the one with the lady taking her clothes off. A lot of the stuff that's down here we just couldn't keep together, or we couldn't find parts for, or cards, like for the magic pen, the electric pen.
Rob offered to help dig out that old machine with all its old cryptic and tempting signs. Once upon a time, it dispensed little cardboard cards that had a fortune-like message on the back.
Well, here goes nothing. Still works. Oh, there she is. An awful lot of dust in this thing. With the invention of video games and that sort of game, children just don't want to put their money in something where they just get a card out of it. They want something more out of what they're going to put a quarter into. And this one's only a dime, but
That's not me.
Who knows if any of this stuff survives? Treasures of the 20th century.
Well, them magic rays are just frying me right now.
If you go behind the Penny Arcade, there are old picnic groves, where in 1988, we witnessed several nationality days.
You want another one?
With wonderful ethnic foods.
Cabbage rolls, all right?
And proud people.
Okay, good. Johnstown, good. All the way from Johnstown he traveled to be here for Slovak Day. Isn't that terrific?
All the ethnic days were terrific. But no question, the best attended day that summer was Italian Day.
I got on the right.
Kennywood is for the Italian sons and daughters, and we have the biggest picnic in the nation. I remember coming here on Italian Day with bushel basket, not hot dogs or hamburgers, but we'd start in the morning with veal cutlet, fried veal cutlet, pork chop, no, not macaroni, that's for Sunday. For here it was special.
Oh, it's Italian Day. It's a great tradition. It's something we've been doing for like 50-some years.
But we're very proud to be Italian Americans. Very proud of our heritage. Even though we have our Polish and our Irish and our English friends with us, we're all Italian today. Right, honey?
Right.
Right. We're all Italian today, and everybody loves Italian food.
20 years I've been doing it. I don't know how long anybody else has been doing it.
Started about 36 years ago, having St. Anthony's Orphanage out for the day, and it just evolved into, like, as it is today, we had 750 young people over here.
And it seems to me like they still have all the beautiful things that the kids would enjoy right now today, and I hope they enjoy it as much as we did when we were kids.
The festivities went on all day long and into the night, when there was what you'd call a baby doll dance with a giant puppet from McKee's Rocks, dancing with anyone into the night.
At night, I would say that it's more fantastic for the simple reason that you see all the lights. It's like going into a city and seeing all the beautiful things, you know what I mean? And it shines up so much better. And it's really a sight to see.
Yes, and one night, you might have even run into WQED's Chris Fenimore, who hadn't started to make cooking programs yet.
So I just moved to Pittsburgh about 3 years ago. I have 2 children. They started when they were 7 years old and 10 years old. And we brought them here, and they thought they had died and gone to heaven. And for that reason alone, we'd never be able to go back to Brooklyn, New York. We have to stay here in Pittsburgh, be close to the park.
Oh, the park can be heavenly on a summer evening. Amazing and dazzling. But it doesn't matter. Nighttime or daytime, there's always something to look at. Another coaster to ride, something else to eat, maybe another game to play. You never know when you'll be surprised by a passing kangaroo or by a parade, maybe even one full of familiar faces and personalities from WTAE Channel 4. While looking at all this old footage, I was often reminded of how often we got irked and frustrated by people waving at the camera. One of the other TV stations in town had been encouraging people to do just that, but we didn't want it. We wanted people to act as if we weren't there. We wanted documentary footage. But we captured a lot of waving nonetheless. And now I kind of like it. People waving from 1988. I kind of want to wave back.
Lens is clean. Nick just cleaned it.
Right to the end of the platform. To the end!